We've created a new service account for our application, created a new tenant and namespace, provided our service account produce and consume permissions on that namespace, and created our first partition topic as you can see here. Let's now produce our first messages to this topic using the Pulsar Java Client. We have a separate video for using the Kafka Java Client. We've already selected our tenant and namespace, so let's go over here to the left panel and go to Pulsar Clients. Under Code Libraries, I'll keep Java selected, and here I'll select my service account that I'd like to use to connect to my application. Your cluster may have multiple endpoints, but most clusters only have one, so if you just leave default selected here, you should be okay. And then under authentication type, you can download the OAuth 2 key for the service account if you haven't already, but we did that earlier. You can also create a new API key here, and by selecting API key, it will also change the producer and consumer code to be consistent with using an API key instead of OAuth 2. But I'm going to be using OAuth 2 with the key that I downloaded earlier. Next, you can choose Maven or Gradle for your libraries. I'm going to be using Maven, and I need to make sure that I have my correct dependency in place. So when we hop on over to IntelliJ, I'll show you where I place that. And then for producer and consumer code, we get some boilerplate producer code and consumer code here. If you select your tenant and namespace already here at the top, they'll pre-populate. And then here under topic, I'm going to select my topic. For the producer code here, this will pre-populate this topic portion of your producer. And that'll be the my tenant, my namespace, my topic. And since I selected OAuth 2, this section here will have all of the necessary code for using OAuth 2. The issuer URL, audience, and service URL will be pre-populated for this particular cluster that we're connected to. And the credentials URL is going to point to that OAuth 2 key file, which I'll show you in IntelliJ how I set that up. If above you selected your API key or JWT instead of using OAuth 2, this section will look a bit different. It won't have all these things like issuer URL, credentials URL, and audience. And the API key that got created, I think will actually automatically be filled into this code here for you. One additional item for the consumer is a consumer will need a subscription. You can either copy this code out here without the subscription and then just type one in when you get over to IntelliJ and it will auto-create on your topic. Or you can go up to subscriptions here and select one that may already have been created on this topic. Or in this case, because we don't have a subscription, we can say create subscription here. Let me go ahead and copy this producer code, and I'll also be showing you where I pasted in that client library. Here in IntelliJ, I'm going to create a new Java project with Maven, and I'll go ahead and click Create. In the POM file here, I'll add my dependencies. And once I've added in that property and the dependency, if I go ahead and right-click on POM, Maven, and go to Reload Project, it'll download the required libraries. Next, I'll create my producer code. I'll go ahead and create a new Java class here, and I'll call it SNProducer, as it's called inside of the StreamNative UI. And keeping the package there at the top, I'll go ahead and paste this in, and you'll see we have all of our code pasted in from the StreamNative UI. The only thing I need to do here is replace this file path. Here I've pasted in the full file path with file, and 3// to users, and then the full path into where I've placed that file on my computer. For Mac, you can get that full file path by holding down the Option key and right-clicking and saying copy as path name. Just be sure to keep the file, and 3// at the beginning. So you can see it's going to publish 10 messages into that topic. And if I go ahead and right-click on my producer and say run snproducer.main, we'll see if we can publish those 10 messages. And here we've published the 10 messages to our cluster. We've not connected to this topic with any consumer yet, so no subscription exists. We've also not applied any message retention policy on this namespace or topic. So as we've discussed before, all messages outside a retention policy or a subscription, including ACT messages, are eligible for deletion. A subscription can be manually created in the UI or by connecting to the topic with a consumer. Also consider creating a message retention policy for your namespace. Message retention ensures messages that have been axed from any subscriptions are also saved if they need to be processed again later.